Hey there everyone and welcome back here. So we're gonna take a look to a new conditional that we haven't seen so far, but it's quite common in other programming languages, and this is known as the switch and the case. So let me bring up my code file here, expand it a little bit just like always, and we are gonna talk about the switch and case. So in the if and else, we can see we can match for a condition, and based on that we can run the code. Just like that, we have a switch and case condition as well. So for your particular special condition, you can write a code that can match for different cases, and based on the matching, it can execute that part of the code. So let's take an example for that. So let me define a value out there, and I'm gonna say that my char, I'm just saying this is gonna be a character. So let's just say it's a character Z. So any character will work out here. Okay, that's good for us right now. Now let's define a switch and case out there. So this is how you define a switch and case. So we can see there's a keyword switch, then a value, and then there are cases and a default code. So you can write as many cases but only one default code. Let me explain what it is. So first of all, it's gonna say what is your case and what is your switch actually. So my switch is my char. I want to run the switch on the my char, and what is your pattern that you want to match? So let's say my pattern is all the characters like A, and based on that I want to run a code that can be any code, and in this case it's just saying, oops, I need to hit a command Z a couple of times, and I just want to type print, and there we go. There are some separators and terminators that I don't want to work because the default terminator is /n, and I don't want to put my extra head out there. So let's just say I just want to print out a message, and I just want to say this is A. Let's just say this, oops, this is A. This is very simple actually. And then you can write multiple cases for it. For example, let's write one more case, and this is gonna be, let's just say, case for the Z, and separated by colon I have to write a print statement again, and there we go, and it's gonna say this is Z. So I hope you got the idea what I'm trying to show. And in case your checker or the my char in this case is not falling into any of those cases, then for the surety we just write a default case that, let's just say, let's print out that, oops, let's just write a print statement here, and that's gonna say this is not any character at all. So there we go. Okay, so this is how we work with the switch and case, and we can see the only part that's running is the Z. But interestingly, let me show you one thing. If I put A here, this is gonna just run this is A. So what we have learned so far, that there is no explicit fall through. If you are coming from any other C-based languages, we have seen in the past that if we match any cases and don't put a keyword like break, it just matches all the cases as a fall through. But in the Swift language, we don't have any such fall through, and I think it's a good thing because I have made so much of the mistake, and they were very hard to detect actually at some point of the time. So no explicit fall through is there, and this is very simple. Let's say I put something which is not matching anything, like for example 1, it's gonna say this is not any character at all. So let me put a command Z and put it back out there. So I do like the idea of no implicit fall through, and in fact it can save a lot of trouble to many programmer. And let me show you a few more examples, because switch and case is very detailed in the Swift and they allows you a lot of options. So let's say again my favorite keyword score, because I do design a lot of games, is 101. Now in the switch and case you can actually work really good in this case. So let's just say that I do want to count a lot of things here. So let's just say my switch is gonna be value. So let's just say value is score, and what pattern I do want to match. Let's say I want to match the case of 0, and I want to print a message to the user that simply says you need to start the game. So there we go. And just after that, let me show you what I wanted to show you here. and you can match again for the cases, but you are now allowed to have multiple ranges in the cases as well. This is pretty awesome. And I can say 1 and then dot dot, let's say non-inclusive range till 7, let's just say anything. And then you can send a message that says your score is in between 1 and 6, because ranges are not inclusive that I've used with the angular bracket. And then we can have a default code as well. So let's just clear up the default code and let's just delete this and print a message here as well. And let's just say, I need to write it correctly, print, and it's gonna say like something, I don't know what you are doing with the game, because I have no idea why everything else is not matching up with your case. So this is pretty good. Let's make one more case here that's gonna be matching for something else. Like for example, it's ranging from 100 to let's just say 100 to, what should I say, 110. Very narrow case again, but again we can work out with that. And there we go. And I'll say you got a good score, so that's good. And we can see now it's saying 101, but you got a good score, so that's matching. So we are allowed to match these ranges as well. This is pretty good, and I do like the concept of interval matching because it allows us with so much of the freedoms out there. But we do have other matchings as well, and this is gonna be really interesting because it allows you to match with the tuples as well. And we haven't discussed the tuples yet, but they are very common, very good. Let me put you a very simple example out there. So we have seen in the for loop that I was making a pair of parentheses and comma separated value. That's it, that's are the tuples. So let's just say I'm defining, or I'm trying to make an app that takes the coordinates from the Google Maps. So I'm gonna say let coordi, or for coordinates, are equal to, let's just say a value of, what should I say, 2, 2. So this is the tuple and it's having a value of 2, 2. There we go, nothing else, and there we go. Now I do want to write a switch in case for it, so yes, I can write a case for it, but let me show you what extra things that we can do. So I want to match a case for my coordi. And what is the pattern? Now this is an interesting case. I can match for the tuples as well. So let's just say it's at the origin and 0, 0. So I can match a case for that, and I'm gonna say just like that, print, and I'm gonna say you are at center of the earth. That's not possible, but let's just say for the time's sake it's possible. What else I wanted to show you here is that you can match for the various cases that are gonna be interesting. So let's just say you are not interested in the x-axis. Again, I hope you are aware of the case that this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. So let me just remove this space. So this is x-axis and this is y-axis, and you are not at all worried about the let's just say y-axis or x-axis. You can actually make that irrelevant by using this syntax, and we'll see this quite a lot. There is the underscore, which has a great impact in the Swift language. And there we go. Now it's gonna say that I'm not bothered about whatever the first value is. I'm gonna just be bothered about the simple y value. So you can just say something that you are at some point comma at the 0 axis. So let's just print a matching print axis, and I'm gonna say that you are on some point on the y-axis, but still let's just say this is some point comma, and other part is for sure 0. So there we go. So we can see that this is gonna be good, but we need to actually write default code first of all to run this properly. So let's just say print, and I'm gonna say default code. This is getting very longer, I know, but bear with me. You're gonna learn a very interesting code out here. Let me just type it correctly. Default. Okay, default code. Okay. So this is interesting because it says default code right now because it's 2, 2, but let me replace it with, let's say 2, 0. So this is matching. So underscore is a very powerful thing. When you are not bothered about a value or you're not going to use that value, then you're going to see underscore quite a lot. And in fact, in case of the for each loop, we do use the underscore quite a lot. So this is one thing that you can match around with. But interestingly, there is another syntax that is known as where. So where is another interesting case out there, and I would like to match a case with the where. So let's just say there is a point. So let's make this, or in fact write a new code. It would be better to write a new code for that. So let me separate that with some comments, and let me say this is some code, and thereafter this is a separate, and this is gonna say some code. And don't worry, I'm gonna summarize this lecture because I know this is getting a little confusing, so don't worry, I'm gonna summarize this as well. So now I want to use the where syntax, and this is gonna be another very syntax. So let's say I'm gonna say let my Cordy, and this is gonna be having a syntax of, again, let's just say 2, 2. And I'm gonna just make one case because already things are getting a little bit itchy out there. And let's just say my Cordy, not my character, my Cordy. I'm gonna first write a default case, and it's gonna say print I am here. Okay, looks good. And the pattern that I wanted to show you here in this case is really simple. So let's just say I simply want to say case is gonna be let. Now I'm defining a new things out there. So it's gonna say let x comma y, and now I can use a syntax of where x is gonna be equal to y. Notice I'm using a double equal sign here, and it's gonna just match the syntax here, and it's gonna say let's just put out something that x and y are equal, and there we go, it says x and y are equal. I know this is getting very confusing, but bear with me, let me summarize everything because now we have code written and I can explain things in a much better way. So we got started with the switch in case, and we saw that we can define any value, and based on that particular switch, I'll call this as a switch, I can match for a variety of conditions. For example, I matched for the A case, and I can match for Z case, and I can write n number of cases. And based on where the case is being executed or case has been matched, it just falls out of the code. In this case, it just falls out at line number 12. So default will not execute, and there is no explicit fall through as well. So it doesn't just match everything out there. It just match for one particular case, and that's it. It's gone out there. And then we also saw that ranges are also included, and we can match for a particular range as well. For example, in this case we got a score, and we can match for a particular range, and based on that we can execute our code case as well. Then in this code we saw that how we can make that some part of the case is irrelevant to us. For example, this part was irrelevant to me. I just wanted to find out that one part of the tuple. Now there can be many as well, comma separated values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, n numbers. And I saw that if I'm not bothered about one particular value in the tuple, I can just put an underscore out there, and it's not gonna compare with this value. It's gonna compare only with the 0 value at line number 36. That's what we saw in the next code, and based on that it can execute that. But again, notice the fall through is not there. It just jumps out of the switch case block. And finally we saw a very different syntax, which is a syntax of where. So a switch case can run and simply can use a where clause to check the additional condition. For example, here we can see that we are not checking for 2, 2 or something. We are just checking if the value of x and y are equal or not. And the syntax is simple. This whole is the syntax in this case. So this is entirely one case. It says let x and y, and we want to check whether x is equals to y or not. And if I make something like -2, now they are not equal, so it just runs the default case because I don't have any other case as well. So this is a brand new syntax of where, which I like quite a lot. We can check out for the multiple tuples and multiple conditions out there. So that's all about the switch and case. I know it's little bit bigger, little bit over explained things out there, but again, this is how we get the switch and case.